Hey, on today's IGL podcast, we're talking about Spider-Man on PS4, and Josie, it's right behind your ear.
Oh, God, I hate bugs. Okay, that one's fine now.
Technically an arachnid.
That one's good.
It's actually technically a white male.
You know what?
It's magic.
You know what, Kyle?
What?
I'm
Oh, there's a spider! Man,
Man.
I wasn't looking.
Keep watching.
Hey, welcome back to Infinite Grenade Launcher. I'm Justin.
I'm Josie.
And I'm Peter Parker.
No, that's not
I'm
true.
Spider-Man.
No,
I
right
thought
back
I
there.
was Spider-Man.
Well, you're Spider-Man. I'm Peter Parker.
I'm Batman?
Yeah.
Well, today we're talking about Spider-Man on the PS4.
This is-
We are actually playing it right now. I'm actually playing under the table. I'm not even looking at the screen.
It's amazing. You're
No.
doing a good job.
We've got some cast and crew playing Spider-Man right now because I thoroughly enjoyed it this week.
They were like, you can do a Spider-Man episode, but we really want to play it, so we're going to play in the middle of your episode.
There's no direction,
Doesn't
no
matter.
adults. They're all enamored right now
Right.
with the web
Doesn't matter.
slinging that is behind us.
Everyone loves this game.
It's
Yeah,
true.
it's kind of a big
Everyone
deal.
loves it.
What does it sell, like 8 million copies? Or no, not really 8 million. I think it
Well,
did
how
ship
many- I
Record-breaking,
think that-
though, right?
It was a
Millions
massive,
of copies
massive
have already
sale
been
in the first
sold.
weekend.
And that's not
I
even-
can see why. Like, you were kind enough to bring it in today so I could play a little bit before. Kyle played a little bit
I
before.
played a little bit.
It was great. Like, I was able to
Insomniac.
jump right in, even though I was all scared of so many
see, I'm
buttons
so
on a
excited.
PlayStation controller.
We wanted to wait until I had completed the game to be able to have, someone on the panel here with the, authority to discuss it.
Authority, Jesus
The
Christ.
authority.
Is everyone okay with that? Everyone back
Yeah,
there?
I'm qualified now. I'm officially a Spider-Man. The
It's
reason I
gone
was
from a
saying
Spider
that
Boy to a
is
Spider
because
Man.
Spider
it's
mitzvah
pretty
or
much
something?
unanimously considered that Insomniac knocked it out of the park. I don't think it's questionable at this point.
No. They nailed it.
By the time that this episode is getting into your brain holes, you have probably fully absorbed this masterpiece. I'll say it, it's a masterpiece.
Will you say that?
It's
Masterpiece?
pretty stellar.
Well,
Is it-
like,
In the
A lot of
entire arsenal of
Okay.
PS4 games that have come out, where
Oh,
does this rank for
absolutely.
you?
Above God of War, personally, because I think there's a little bit more replayability. However, I was going to say this. A lot of times, because, obviously this is going to be the first game in this prospective Spider-Man new series of games.
Yeah.
A lot of setup here. But a lot of times, when you get these setups, they're not as comprehensive as this Spider-Man PS4 game is.
Right.
Right.
There is so much that's happening here. It doesn't just feel like a building block. It really feels like this full, comprehensive experience, and we can't wait to see where it goes.
I cannot wait to see where it goes. It's amazing. I'm shocked at how good the game looks.
Even
All
just
the-
picking it
It's
up automatically,
beautiful.
you feel like
And
Spider-Man.
I haven't had a chance to play much of it. I'll be very fair, but I like the car, like you said, the cars are photorealistic.
yeah,
It
a
looks
lot of it's
amazing.
photorealistic. The physics look really great. The
Yeah.
gameplay is really smooth. The combat is really enjoyable. That's kind of everybody else was kind of really doing a lot of the swinging around. I did more of the beat 'em up
Got
and
that
stuff.
Arkham style.
That was great. Yeah,
Arkham style dynamic
it
combat
flowed well.
system.
It was very intuitive. It was really cool.
I really thought when they were talking about, oh, we're gonna have a Spider-Man game, I'm like, my initial reaction was like, who cares? And
Same.
and we've all seen these licensed video games, and like immediately in my brain I was like, Superman 64. Like I just thought it for some reason I just had it in my mind like full disaster, and I could not be more.
Spider-Man 2 is still well
pleased.
regarded as possibly the greatest movie tie-in because it was very directly tied to that Raimi universe.
I really like the Lion King for the Genesis, but
Yeah, definitely the Genesis
oranges,
version, not the Super Nintendo version.
that one's not good.
Not as good.
No.
Not
It's
as
true.
good. But the game, what surprised me about the game too is like a lot of the hype came out about the Sinister Six being in the game. You have a new enemy, Mr. Negative,
Yep.
which honestly for me kind of led up to being a spoiler in the advertising too, because they don't really make the turn of Mr. Negative until kind of like halfway through the game. It's kind of what I'm saying is like
Interesting.
you are Spider-Man from the second the game starts, and a lot of the first half of the game is not even so much conquering villains. A lot of the villains have already been conquered at the beginning of the game. They're already locked up in the raft.
Right.
So you're doing basic Spider-Man things, in terms of like saving a helicopter, or like crashing through this, stopping this car. And up until like maybe 40% of the way through the game is really when the villain aspect starts coming out of a lot more boss fights and things like that. So it's interesting to see how that. I was playing for a long time being like, where are all the guys I saw in the commercials?
Right.
But it definitely was, and it's not like kind of like that Spider-Man 3 where they just throw in Venom at the end. very comprehensive battles.
Right.
A lot. The city
you
feels
are.
very dynamic overall too. Like you're going from
The
a
city
basic.
is gorgeous.
Yeah, but you're going from a basic hub in terms of like, you know, you have your side missions and things like that, and then as things start to, you know, disintegrate in the city, I guess you could say, in terms of peace, the city starts changing and there's fires and there's more enemies and it's very cool to see that map kind of evolve as you're playing the game, which also lets you know that you are progressing through the game. It's not just kind of like, what do I do now?
Sort of looks like it's going to lead itself to a lot of like good DLC. Like you're like, oh, we're gonna have this thing can come in and like, but then you hope it doesn't become like this weird, lame microtransaction-y world that GTA 5 fell into. Like there was a lot of promise with the map and all this stuff. And then
I don't think
now
they're
it
gonna
just sort of feels
shoehorn.
like.
I don't think we're going to shoehorn a multiplayer mode into this or anything
Not
like
at all.
that.
No. That's not what I'm looking for.
They announced a New Game Plus. So those of us who have finished the game, you can kind of go back and replay the game with all your skins and all of your different suits and abilities and things like that. Hopefully some other kind of difficulty settings and things like that will be included. But in DLC, I mean, like, what DLC? Maybe some other villains, maybe some crossover stuff.
Right,
That would be cool.
expanding the
Comes out or
map
something like
somehow,
that.
like that kind of thing. Maybe is that
But
even,
I mean, I don't think the buildings in Brooklyn are tall enough to web-sling. I don't think.
maybe not. Go swing past a brownstone, go to a really cool
It's
underground
just like
bar.
duplexes, and you can't really do it, and then you got to go hang out with your friends and the rest of their 10
Why don't you
roommates.
web sling onto the LIRR,
In
go all the way
Brooklyn.
out to the end of the island, go
That would
relax
be-
for a minute?
Yeah, you don't want to play Spider-Man in Long Island. It's just
Why
like
not? Why
raising
not?
your 2 kids and paying your mortgage. And
Listening to a whole shitload of Billy Joel.
it's expensive.
As you do.
right.
I'll tell you that. It's expensive. But the game is also very varied, very difficult. This is probably the first time in a long time I've lost a QuickTime challenge. You know, usually QuickTime challenges, you're just like, oh, hit X, hit circle. I have not. I've succumbed as Spider-Man to some of these challenges. There's a lot of
What do you
lab-
feel like the difficulty level? Is there a big look? There seemed to me like a massive learning
You
curve.
have
like,
friendly, amazing, and
yeah.
spectacular.
I mean,
well, that's it. The game
buttons,
gets very
it's-
complicated, but if
not-
you played a lot of
really button mashy. I mean, it kind of can be button mashy, and you can like swing pretty quickly. And you're like, that's really fun. But like to do anything, there's a lot of coordination.
it's tactical
that
and it's very reminiscent of the other Insomniac games, Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive. You could really tell that they were using that foundation in terms of the chaos that's kind of elicited. Both of those
Peter
games,
Parker's
Sunset
really putting
Overdrive
in work
and
over here, man.
Right.
and Ratchet and Clank, you have these combat scenarios where they're very varied scenarios, but there's sometimes so much going on. And that's the other thing with Spider-Man 2 is there's so many mechanics to learn. It's when you're first playing the game, like don't get discouraged is what I would say, because they're always trying to teach you a new tactic
right.
and they're always
I hate
trying to teach you a
myself.
new ability that there's a lot to absorb. But it
Okay.
just helps you feel like Spider-Man. So you
How's
know,
the tutorial? Like, is it adequate?
right.
Is it?
there's
'cause we
5
skipped
hours
that
of
part.
tutorial. There is.
Oh my god.
Well, there's just always contextually
Right, you have to
sensitive
learn another
prompts and
thing.
things like
Okay,
that.
so, like,
they're very good about
building,
letting you
adding
know.
in more
They're very
skills.
but they're very
Okay.
good about letting you know if you're not doing something. You know, hit L1 R1 or do this.
Okay.
And it makes you
I
feel
didn't even know those
elevated.
were buttons. What do you know about that?
It's okay. They're on the top. Take a look at the Spider-Man.
I'm looking at this. I'm out on this
geez.
episode.
It's
bro. I don't
distracting
wanna
us
chat
all,
with you guys
folks.
anymore. I want to.
But they
wanna
give
play.
us so much in this game. You have Sinister Six, all the main villains that you want to see, teases at the end of the game. This game legitimately made me shed a tear.
Wow.
Good
At the end of it.
storytelling.
Real emotion
That's so
from
important.
Justin Gentile. Oh my god.
It was probably some deep-seated thing that it released inside of me. I don't know. But point is, I'm very excited to see where this
We'll
goes.
unpack that here on Psychoanalysis Chat later on.
It's I'm very excited to see where it goes. I mean, there's a lot of villain teases at the end of the game. There's a lot of stuff that because you know Spider-Man lore, you want to see where it's going to go.
Sure.
But they're also kind of turning it on its head a little bit.
Only
not gonna-
46
I'm not
seconds.
gonna
Oh my
say.
god, there's the time's about
What
to run
the-
out.
What
Don't
time's
screw
gonna
this
run out?
up,
Well, listen,
bro.
from
Let's
everyone
end
at
the
Hollywood
episode.
Redux.
We
No,
gotta
okay.
end it.
Oh no.
Oh,
Okay.
it's still going.
I want to thank you guys for watching this episode. If you like Spider-Man, you want to comment below and talk about your favorite part of the game. What did you like? What didn't you like about it?
Yeah, let us know
Subscribe,
all
tell
that
your
stuff.
friends.
Yeah.
What superheroes do you want to see coming out? We got that Avengers game apparently by I think Crystal Dynamics is working on it. The
Okay.
developers of Tomb Raider.
Okay.
That could be really cool.
20 seconds off your blabbermouth. That's it.
Sorry, Justin
Stressing
_
me
Gentile
out.
on Twitter, Just Gentile on Instagram.
I'm Kaden Kanji on Twitter and Insta, and you can find me on PSN and High Dive Champion. Come sling webs with me or something.
This is Josie the Fiend. It's all down there.
Oh no! Oh, look at there's a huge okay.
All right,
Kingpin.
all right, all right.
All right,
Kingpin's
listen.
right there. We
See
did.
you guys next time.
We gotta play.
Thanks
See you
for
later.
watching.
Yeah.